Nonjuror.
The mad notes.
All right.
What up, Nonjuror? There we go.
All right, welcome to my very first Zoom call.
Yeah, shout out to you for destroying the pads on the 404.
Yeah, the original ones, the stock pads, especially my hi-hat, which is pad 9. That thing is nuked. There's no paint left on that thing.
And it's crazy that you just kind of took off, right, with the 202. Interestingly enough.
That was the first one, yes. Look at you go. That's a deep dive. Yeah, that was the first one.
And then you basically never stopped, right? You just...
Yeah, so started with the 202, then and that was cool because I took that. I was taking that on holidays, and because it's portable, so my wife can go to some Greek island beach and. I can sit in the cabana and drink Heinekens while using the batteries to make beats and stuff. And then on a trip to Melbourne, I think, I actually have no idea. You probably know, like 2017 or something, maybe I got the 404A. I actually had
end of 2017, according to your records.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to be referring back to you for most of my history. That's all right. And then a couple of years ago, let's say 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or maybe it was 2020. I went to Tokyo, and that's where I found the 303.
And that's interesting that you went to Tokyo to hunt that device down.
That was the first time I ever saw a 303. I went into a club, like just a bar, and I guess where the DJ would usually be set up, they had a 303 stuck to the wall.
On the wall.
With like, so I guess when the DJ runs through it, and that was the first time I ever saw a 303. So I sort of like snuck behind and had a look. I'm like, I need to get one of these, and I'm in Tokyo, so I had a look at like a Tokyo eBay type thing, or Japanese eBay type thing, and my friend who lives there, he hooked it up for me, and I came home with it and a bunch of Transformer toys, because that's what you do when you go to Tokyo. You buy Transformer toys.
You got them. Okay. Now it all comes together, because yes, they didn't just pop up at some point in your shots and videos.
I bought them probably 2 days apart. The tapes, the Decepticon tapes and the 303 was only a couple of days apart.
And this is also around the same time that you played around with the PO, right?
Yeah, I haven't used the PO as much. Like I watch what people are doing with it, and it's incredible what that little calculator thing does. But like, but I'm guilty of not figuring it out. Like the only thing I really figured out how to do was to chop a drum break, chop a drum break, and then like move the chops around, and so I can finger drum when I'm on an airplane or something, which is actually really good for finger drumming. I didn't expect that, but
it's so tiny. Yeah,
like because I got the rubber wetsuit type case, and that's actually not bad for that. To my surprise.
One thing that I would like to know from this workflow is on the older machines, on the 404 and 303, how do you chop? How do you lay them down on the pads? Like the lengthy way, or do you have a speedy hack? Because this copy paste and trim, it takes shitload of time.
So with the 303, so okay, to start with, the workflow is everything sampled with the 202 first. Almost always. Not so much these days with the Mark II, but I'm doing it again. The 202 is like being used more and more, but it went a long time where I didn't touch it and I was starting to feel bad. So yeah, everything's on 202, then sampled over to the 404A or the 303. And the 404A I find is fastest, just like to take that 4-bar chunk and copy it onto all the pads and then just like listen through and just mark it each and chop it however I want to chop it. But with the 303, you can't do that. So I put the sample that I'm working with, the chunk, onto pad 8, and then I will find the first mark and I'll mark it, and then I'll resample that mark to the first pad, and then I hit the pad, hit mark. So like I hit the pad, it starts playing, I hit mark, and it doesn't restart, it keeps playing, and then I hit mark in the next beat or whatever, then resample that, and I do it that way.
And on the newer machine, do you?
Oh shit, no, that's just going to the chop function, hit the pads, and then move it around, and yeah, that's way faster. That's the best one.
Mm-hmm. But you still send it through the whole signal chain. Would you still sample in on the 202 or the older SP and then bring it over to the MK2?
The 202.
The 202. Sorry. Yeah.
I still prefer. I mean, in my videos, I try to keep it tight and I just use the Mark II. Like for example, yesterday, I sampled a drum break. I still prefer vinyl sampled onto the 202. That's just the best sound, and using the standard sample rate, the 15 kilohertz. That's my jam. And then I copy that. Oh, sorry. Then I change the pitch if I want to, and then but it's less of a big deal now. Throw it onto the Mark II, then chop it, and then like for example, yesterday I had like 3 different drum breaks that I sampled of vinyl onto the 202, and then I chopped it, and instead of like putting it into my usual fingering pattern, I put like all the kicks onto one bank, all the snares onto another bank, all the hats into another bank from the 3 different breaks. And then I use PadLink to combine some kicks together and then mess with the levels and then blend them together. And so I'll create these new kick drum sounds, and I change the pitch in some of them and then I send some to bus 2 and some to bus 1. So some have like EQ on it, some have whatever effect. And then I'll bounce that, instead of just resampling that to another pad, I'll then bounce that back to the 202, and that will glue it all together, and then bounce it back again. And then because then when I bounce that back to the 202, we got technical really quick. This is good. I was just worried I was gonna have to talk about my personal life. And so something I always do is I say with my kick drum, so I've combined all these sounds together. I'm putting it on the 202 to glue it all together. And then when I bounce it, I'll do it at the 3 different sample rates. So I'll have it the standard, which is 15, at lo-fi 1, which is the 7, and then lo-fi 2, which is the 4 kilohertz. And that's my 3 drum variations for the kick. So then you can use the lo-fi 2 one, which has a lot less highs, but it's still very punchy, which means that when you turn it down in volume, it still hits pretty hard. And then that can be like your ghost kick to the main snare. And then I do the same, to the main kick. And then I do the same with the snares, and maybe the same with the hats, but not usually.
Like, do you now have a template on the new one that you use to start projects, or do you start from scratch, like traditionally just sampling from vinyl and then?
No template. Start from scratch every time. It's just that's the fun part. Like I'm flicking through Spotify looking for whatever drum sounds I can find, or just it starts from scratch every time. I don't even. The only time I ever reuse the same drum sounds is if I'm trying to promote a sample pack. I never I make all these ones, I put them aside and put them in a big folder, and but I never go back to them.
That's interesting because well, shout out to you for being so scientific on patterns. And two things that I just recently found out is you're going into these. They look, to be honest, they look like Egyptian hieroglyphs. The pattern notation for drum. Lines.
I write things down because I don't have the memory for it. That's why I was taught all that musicology when I was like I've got books just full of drum patterns, and also the same with if I have an idea for like so maybe I start up a drum loop and I've got my chops and I've got all 16 chops and I'm trying to figure out what combinations work, what's a cool what could be the main pattern, and then I write it on paper, and it's kind of like a jazz chart, like a jazz chord chart, like they taught me at university. Is like instead of being like a D minor chord going to a G7 chord going to a E flat chord or whatever, it's this bar is going to be 2, 4, 7, 8, and then the variation on that will be probably like 15, 16, 10, 1 or something. And so I have these so it's like jazz chord charts, but for pads. And that's how I remember shit. And then I decide which ones I like better, and then I sort of rearrange them on paper, and then that helps me.
And your technique to lay down the pads is interesting. So apart from the obvious ones that you keep on the bottom row, which is interestingly an inverted one, right? So it's you're the first person.
Okay, so I'm the second person. Jeremy Ellis. My wife and I went to Nice for a jazz festival, and the Roots were playing. And the Roots are, you got to, if the Roots are playing, you got to be there. And they had a guy playing pads playing, I think, machine live. He had 2 of them, leaning forward, standing up. This dude in like a button-up shirt, and he was just doing sample chops and stuff with the Roots. And one of my favorite Roots songs and one of my favorite Dilla beats is Dynamite. And they did a version of that where Questlove's playing drums, and then you have all the vocal stuff between Questlove and Black Thought. And then you have Jeremy's chopped the original sample, which is a band called Nirvana from the 70s, some jazz tune. I can't remember what it's called, but there's like this walking, it's like a walking bass line on guitar, but with chords as well on top of it. It's like this, Grant Green invented the style back in the day. And it's like the original recording is like dun, 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 dun. But then Dilla slows it down to 50%, so then you get this dun, 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 sort of thing. He's chopped up those 16 chops, and they're like jamming on my favorite beat live. It was crazy. And so I saw this dude, and he did like a finger drum solo. I'm like, I want to fucking do that. That's the next thing. So that's how that happened. And so the reason why it's hi-hat, main kick, soft kick, and snare is so I can, when I'm doing that, and I'm doing the other samples with this hand, sure, but also it means that I can move this hand over, and my left hand is now doing the hi-hat, and now this is on my strong kick. So I slide that over. So it means that I can use 2 hands with this one setup, but also one hand as well. It means you got to work on the pinky. Pinky takes a lot of work. I could almost show you. I'm running through the 404 right now. I could almost show you, but I spent a lot of time with the metronome, going like a boom boom for like 10 minutes at 96 BPM or something, and that's my warm up.
Crazy. You actually do drum warm-ups. to play?
Yeah, I've got a more now at the moment because I'm on 404 day. I'm hoping to release like a I haven't played a gig in so long, so I want to do like a live from the couch type thing, right? This couch, very specifically. And I thought, well, I usually do like a thing where I'm just like playing the beats and doing the effects and playing guitar or whatever. What could I do different? And like, well, what if I did like the finger drumming thing? I don't know if he dug back, maybe did, where I used to do a lot of stuff when I just had before I got the 303, when it was just the 404A and the
202
and the 202, I would have the samples chopped on the 202, and then I'd have the drums on the 404A, and I was doing like piano style finger drumming. So the samples on one and drums on the other, which is really good because then you're recording into my interface separately, and I can mix them, and I can like sidechain and all that sort of cool stuff if I want to, because I've got that power. Because you're using two different machines and you're just recording onto individual tracks into I use Reason. So I thought, why don't I do like a finger drumming live set? So I've taken some beats from my past and that I've released from like the Watch Pots Never Boil series and all that sort of stuff, and at least one from Chop Smith Offcuts, and I'm going to recreate them with finger drumming. So I've gotten all the original samples and just been learning the drum pads. And again, I have like a notebook where I've written out all the drum things, and then where to play what samples and which are on what pads. So because I know I don't remember, I have to look at the book to remember and then practice it. And then so I think I've got about another month to get good at doing that. I think there's probably 5 or 6 jams I'll do. Anyway, so that's why I'm working on my finger drumming at the moment, is because I want to try and do some ballsy shit. And if I don't figure it out, I won't release it and I'll do something else.
Does it mean that you will abandon those ideas entirely and come up with the new?
I'm releasing I decided 2 days ago that I'm going to release a beat, like an EP or something on Thursday. Just because I made 4 beats over the weekend. And sort of, so I'm like, what could I do? Because the first idea was, I've done a couple of beat making videos, and I want to take a week off from doing that because all that video editing takes a long time. And I thought, what would be faster? Making an EP would be faster than making one video easily. And so I made some beats, and making beats is really fast when you don't have to film it. Like that's such a bit. And then I just got the reel-to-reel player recently, so I want to just like record a bunch of beats to reel because I want to get better at gauging my levels and getting better with the sound on that thing. So good opportunity to do that. So I'll do like a small beat set, record it onto the reel-to-reel, and if it works out and it sounds cool, I'll release it as a small little 4-track beat tape on Thursday on Bandcamp or something. And if it sounds good, I'll put it on Spotify, which I guess will be available in a month or however long that takes or whatever. But yeah, so like I haven't released anything in a long time, and I thought it would be way faster just to make an EP rather than do what I usually do. So give that a crack.
And you mentioned the reel-to-reel. Are you approaching this as a way to mix without visual feedback that you normally have in your DAW, like where you see how the levels are?
It has a VU meter, but I don't think it's very accurate. Like, because this machine's from the mid-70s. It's in pretty good shape, but I say that it's like with my MPC 60. You just never know with this old stuff what's going to happen when you turn it on.
Oh, and yeah, congrats to you for getting the MP back in the first place.
Oh my God.
It sounds like you waited for it for a long time.
Yeah, so it arrived the same week as the Mark II. So it was really, really conflicting because so I bought the 60 like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend. I went to his house one time. He's the sort of guy. He made house music. He's the sort of guy that has like 3 monitors, and he has all these mixing desks and cool stuff. Just lives in an apartment. He just has a room with his cool stuff, and he had this MPC 60, like in the 60 Mark II, of course, sitting in on the thing. And I'm like, holy shit, you got a fucking Mark II? That's fucking sick. And he's like, yeah, and he let me play around with it and stuff. And like the pads don't work very well, and whatever. And then he developed himself into he ended up in a situation where he needed money really quickly, and he sold it to me for like $1,000 Australian dollars. And I was happy to oblige. He knew that it would be an easy sell. And then when I moved here, I left it at my parents' house, and one day I was like, I really want to get that. There's like a guitar that I really missed, and I really want to get the MPC 60 because like since I've been completely I've been working more and more doorless the last few years with the SPs. It's like I think I'm ready to really respectfully use the MPC. So after my next beat tape, not this one, the serious one, the Chopsmith Offcuts 2 in May, I want to do a project where it's just 100% sampled from vinyl with the 60, and probably using the 404 Mark II to chop, because chopping on the 60 sucks. And then I'm going to run the drums through my tube preamp into my interface, and then route the samples into the Mark II. So when I record it and track it, I'll have them on separate tracks and be able to do probably some SP effects to keep it interesting. Just like isolator and stuff like that. I don't know, but that's the plan. Next.
You were talking about the FX, and since the newer one has a bunch of additions, and the two, like the split of bus 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, like what's your favorite move there? Like, first of all, what are the new favorites in terms of effects, the additions? I take it the amp, you're huge on the guitar amp.
Okay, so 3 things that stand out is I replaced the filter drive with super filter. It sounds to me better. The resonator or whatever it is now stopper, which is awesome. Like to use stopper a lot. And the sync delay I replaced with the tape echo. And the tape echo is awesome because unlike the older SPs, this one's now in stereo. It bounces back and forth. So that's great. I've recently been getting into scatter, pattern 3, 100% depth. That's a really cool thing. Show you like.
Oh shit, motherfucker.
That's the chromatic pitch. Hold up. So what did I say? 3. So this is gonna sound terrible. I love that. Now
that's the scatter.
Yeah. That's pattern 3 that it does. Now with this whole bus thing, I really love this because what I do, and this is very relevant because this is actually my beat thing that I'm doing this week, is I make all the beats in the pattern sequencer. I assign all the samples to bus 1 or the drums to bus 2, have it in parallel mode. So, and then I mute one of the buses. Sorry, I have all the patterns and I do the pattern chain to put them all together. So I put together the whole song, and then I resampled the whole song with bus 2 muted to a pad. So all the samples for the entire song plays through, and then that stops automatically at the end of resample, so it ends up being the right length. And then I do the same thing again, but muting bus 1, so only bus 2 is playing, so it's just the drums. And so then I have on 2 pads the samples for the whole song, the drums of the whole song, pad blinkered together, and then you hit one, and then it plays the whole song at one time with everything together. But you can still do the effects, say on bus 1, but the drums still stay solid, while you do all sorts of dumb shit with the effects on the samples.
Is it because it saves the assignment of the buses when you resample? I didn't catch
Okay.
Or do you assign those buses again?
Yeah, sorry, correct. I skipped that step. Sorry. So I have the pad with the samples all the way through. I have the pad with the drums all the way through. I assign the sample pad to 1. I assign the drum pad to 2. Gotcha. I left out that step. Good catch. And then so you can do your whole beat set like that. So I've got only 4 beats in this, but it takes up 8 pads, which is not a big deal. So instead of being like say 16 beats in a bank, you have 8, which is still pretty good. Your banks for days. It's all good. So that's a cool thing I've been doing lately, and this will be the second time I've done like a beat set type jam. Doing this technique, and yeah, I should talk about it sometime in a video, I think.
And do you switch, do you have a shortcut to switch them up when you perform to replace those, or do you stay you have your bus 1 and bus 2 and you don't really switch them up between the beats?
So something I've been thinking about, I don't know if this answers the question or makes things worse, is so at the moment the samples are always bus 1, drums bus 2, but then I was thinking I could maybe alternate. So the second beat would be the drums have bus 1 and the samples on bus 2, then alternate back again. So then you could do some crazy delay bullshit stuff with the effects on the sample track going at the end of your first beat, but then when you start the next beat, it'll start fresh with the sample, but you can still be running like a huge delay or something on that before the drums come in or whatever. That was an idea I had earlier today. But I mean, I do a lot of switching between hitting the bus effects button and then messing with the drums while the sample's going. I do a lot of that stuff at the moment, which is really fun.
Because I think someone in the crew in Sidechain asked about that specific moment when you're performing different beats and you want to one effect not to bleed into the same exactly like that, it shouldn't bleed into the beat number 2.
Holy shit! So I answered the right question. That's cool. But the other thing is that you can have only the beat playing assigned to buses and have everything else white pads, not assigned to anything at all. And you could once the beat's playing, you could then assign the pads to the buses without messing anything up. So you could actually do that. It'll take a little bit of concentration and focus, but you could actually totally do that. That's no big, unless of course you're running bus effect, the 3 and 4 bus effects over everything, then you can't do that.
How would that work? In which scenario you're saying over everything? What is the alternative to that? Okay, so
you have bus 1 and 2, 3 and 4, but to get to bus 3 and 4, your pad has to be assigned to either 1 or 2.
Okay.
But let's take a step back, because I was talking about my scenario where I'm using 2 pads per beat. If you're doing just 1 pad per beat, then what you do, and this is something I've also thought about, is say you got 4 beats, and they're on pads 1, 2, 3, 4. So pad 1, bus 1, pad 2, bus 2, pad 3, bus 1, pad 4, bus 2. So that way you can end beat 1 doing some crazy stuff, get into bus, then hit beat 2, and it will be completely clean. That's how you do that.
Alternation is the key to this success, or to
so you're gonna see a lot of orange green.
did you figure out? So the bus 1 and bus 2 can run either in parallel or into each other, right? So
Yeah, serial. Yeah.
one into 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything like something creative that you found to play around there?
So again, with if I'm running a pattern and I've got like the samples are 1, drums 2, then I could and then you can then put say like cassette sim or isolator or something across all the samples, drums are still solid, but then pop over to bus 2, and if they're in serial, and then you can do DJ effects on both things at once. If you want to do like a big dive or use stopper to end it or something like that.
Okay.
I guess that sort of stuff. That's a good question. Yeah, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay, cool. The old way to do the sidechain, you covered that perfectly, like for the 404A. Obviously, the simpler on the 303 with the vinyl sim is well known. On the newer one, is it similar, or did you find a better way to have a sidechainy effect?
3 things. 303 vinyl sim works pretty much the same as a 303, but the big difference is that when you go to onto the 303 itself, use the vinyl sim, is kind of like squashing things down. On the Mark II, is pushing it up, so it doesn't get quieter. It kind of stays. It doesn't get like louder, but everything gets louder because it's being compressed.
Okay.
But also, so that's one of 2 main differences. The next difference is that it's a little bit smoother. There's a little bit more transient, a little bit spikier, a little bit more abrasive on the original 303. A little bit smoother on the Mark II, which makes it a little bit more usable. It doesn't like and it's just not like, you know, all your drum patterns on the 303 is kind of like, you know, Bart Simpson's haircut is always like stabbing through and shit, right? Second thing, the compressor on the Mark II now has ratio, which makes a big difference. It pretty much works the same. Sustain and attack, and then ratio, and the higher the ratio, the more like a limiter it is, more or less. I think the rule is once you get past 7 to 1, it's you're pretty much doing limiting on a compressor. Third thing is envelopes. So like if you have your samples hitting at the same time as your kick always, then you can use the envelope to create like a ducking effect.
Do you employ this on the newer? Because now you can have the envelopes, and do you use that?
Absolutely. What I've done is because I don't always want to have the drums in, so I'll copy a whole bank to another bank, not do the envelope trick. So anytime I'm pulling the drums out, I'll redo those chops on the other bank so it doesn't do the envelope effect. So I only have the envelope on one set, and then I can do the same stuff, and yeah, more or less, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you have your
I duplicate the samples, the sample bank. Sorry if I said drums. I'm not as smart as you think I am.
Обсуждение проекта Конституции СССР завершено в обеих палатах Верховного Совета Союза Советских.
It's an interesting question because we didn't figure it out collectively. Is there a way to sample in while in pattern mode? So you have your beat sequenced, you are in the sequence and not in a resampled beat, but you get this moment of like, oh, I need to play, I don't know, a synth in. Is it possible with the current firmware to do that?
All right. So the pattern, say you have the drum loop and a bass line or something, and that's playing, and you want to record something from the line in at the same
From
time.
external.
And you want that just to record into its own pad.
For example, right?
Yeah, easy. Yeah, of course. It does. So it does that when you go to. There's when you're resampling or when you're sampling, whatever. In this case, it'd be resampling because you'd be resampling the pattern to a pad, but you're recording the external input only and not the mix out. So you have two options. You could be resampling the drum beat to a pad and then playing random like shit on a turntable and have it record the drums and everything onto so you have this one pad that has the drums and the random samples from the turntable on one pad, and then you'd be able to chop that up and make loops out of it like you would resample method style beat making. But also you could have it so it records just the external input. So you're jamming with it, it's all in time, it's in key, it's everything you want it to be. And then when you hit stop, it's just what you recorded through the input, not the pattern.
What would the button, since there is a gang of buttons now, what's the combination for it? So you are in pattern, you start the pattern.
1 second, let me have a look. So pattern mode. So you go to pattern select, then you hit resample, and then you hit record setting. And then you have the routing comes up and it's either going to be mix or external input, and you turn Control 2. And then you just select the pad for it to record to, hit the pattern to start it, and you're off to the races.
Nice. You see, you saved the soul. Sun Lee is the homie who asked that. He will be happy. He'll be stoked to know that it is possible.
It's fucking nuts. I do want to say this because I know that the 404 community is crazy. This 404 community is like so divided. It's ridiculous. It's so funny. Like when the leak first happened about the MK2, and then and people were like, it's fake, it's not real, and then it turns out it is real, and then it's like it's all hype, it's all bullshit, and then people are like, I don't like it, and people are like, I do like it, and everyone's divided. And it's just funny because it's just like the 404 community just likes to be in a group. And I want to say that I've been very fortunate to be on like a first name basis conversation situation with one of the two guys who designed it, who does the software, who whenever there's a bug, he's the guy that fixes it. Like, so back when I was doing testing, he'd be like, try this out. I try it out. I'm like, it does this. Should it do this? He says no. And then like 3 hours later, he sends me another firmware update. Try this. Fixed. Perfect. And this guy, Takio, he is like a big 303 guy. The 303 was a big part of his life back 20 years ago or 17 years ago, whatever. Like there's a lot of 303 functionality that snuck back into the 404, including this being able to record a pattern and what's coming in through the input at the same time. And that's like because he has a lot of love for the 303. And I've got to really stress that. Like, he's a really awesome dude. So much smarter than me. I really appreciate that he's ever given me the time of day at all. It's crazy to be even involved with this whole Roland thing. Next question.
Well, but it's great. I shout out to them for doing this. I think this is very, very important and great that they listen to heavy users and made those changes and are willing to listen to the community, because SPvidz are a very special crowd.
Yeah, I mean, DiBiase and SPvidz, they had their Mark IIs a long time ago. I mean, those two guys especially did a lot of the testing back in the day. Like mine's number 40. 60, 65.
Nice.
So I
Wow,
got this. I got the 65th one, and
first 100.
and like I asked Dibi what his number was, and it's much smaller.
Well, he's also demigod in this.
They would be
circle.
foolish if they didn't ask him to help
Exactly,
out.
exactly. He's been. I'm pretty sure he's been working the 303 around the same time that the main developer was doing that. So
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the story of how he got his first 404 is crazy because they were taking 2 303s on international tours because to have enough beats on it to be able to do a full set, you needed 2 303s.
Mhm.
And then, if I understand the legend correctly, he made a beat for some guy, and the guy was like, "Oh, you're still using a 303? I got a 404 in the back of my car. I'll swap you like that and like $100 or something for the beat." And like so much has happened with the 404 thing since then because of this one transaction. I'd love to hear that beat.
It changed the course of the beat community.
Yeah,
quite a lot.
We're lucky to have that dude around.
Absolutely. Yeah, his 404 masterclass is very important.
Yeah, I mean, for us, that was like 4 o'clock in the morning if you watched it live, and it was worth staying up for. Like, that was awesome. I really enjoyed watching that. Like doing things like I think he was like he had these drums on the MC 101, and he would just whenever he's making a beat, just sample some drums over using the RCA cables. No door, nothing like that. And it's just like that, just the confidence in that, because a lot of us would like import the drum samples with the software or something, because like this is how I want my drums to sound. This is I put a lot of effort into these levels and how it's compressed and stuff. And he's like, fucking RCA cable. And I'm like, okay, fair enough, confidence. It's like he gives us permission to do shit like that and to use the pattern sequencer and to use quantize sometimes. I know it's a dirty fucking word, but like I'm seeing in the way he uses quantize is like it gives us permission to not always be so hard about that sort of stuff.
She makes it look effortless, but he also enables exactly to use features to your advantage and not being religious about.
He's good like that. Yeah, he's good like that.
And on that specific note, on sounds, I think you mentioned in some video that you decided to put a drum loops or something on your phone in order to sample it back to your machines.
Yeah.
Like, do you keep a library of certain things, basses?
Yeah. Especially bass notes. I have a sample pack that I pretty much made for myself, where I sampled every note on my P bass, and then I ran those samples onto the 202 at different sample rates, and I have that on my phone. So I have every note of my bass guitar at all the different sample rates in a folder on my phone. So wherever I am making a beat on the 404A usually was the thing back then, is I can always, if I need a bass line for something, I can always get my bass. And the same thing with drums is I have drum reels. So I don't just like have like a kick drum folder or a drum loop or something like that. I do have some drum loops that I chop up every time. But what I do is I always have a drum reel of say I make a beat, and I won't just have like one kick and one snare. I'll have variations. I'll have like ghost kicks, and I'll have like open hats and all that sort of stuff. And I have like on my phone a whole bunch of like kick, softer kick, different sample rate kick, strong snare with clap, and hats, and they're all part of the same drum kit, the same drum sound, because I made them all at the same time from the same breaks and combining sounds and stuff and whatever. And so that's a Marley Marl thing, is I have like a reel of drums. And so whenever I'm making a beat, I'm like, yeah, I want to use for example, if I wanted to do like something with like the funky drummer type drum sounds, then I'll find that drum group of mine. This is just this is especially while I'm traveling. So like I can sample something from Spotify or whatever from my phone, and then I have like a bunch of drum sounds good to go.
This is so dope because I don't know why. I would, do the screen recording on an iPhone or iPad and have like the samples, but it never occurred to me to do the same.
The program I use to sample onto my phone is called Audiophonic, Orphonic, I don't know. But it does like 24-bit, 48K recording audio. I think using the Go mixer is what I would usually use.
For that's your phone recorder?
Yeah, it used to be. Now I use the Mark II, which is like I'm using it right now.
Can you record video and audio with just the cable?
Yeah.
By connecting?
Yeah.
Which app do you use to do that?
The iPhone.
Video.
So what it is you have the USB-A to USB-C, and then you have to get. And I can't stress this enough. You have to get the Apple camera adapter.
Gotcha.
USB-C to the Lightning thing, but because if you get like just the cable that goes from USB-A to Lightning, it doesn't fucking work. We all do it on day one. On day one, we all buy that one cable thinking we're fucking smart. We're fucking not. It says in the manual, you got to use the Apple thing. And, but the benefit of the Apple thing is like I'm using it right now when I'm talking is I have the 404 connected in and I'm also charging at the same time. So my phone won't die. So like there's definitely a benefit to it, but it costs $30, and it's just one of those goddamn things that you gotta do.
Yeah.
Because it's Apple, and Apple know how to run the game.
No, but that's dope. I think that is a major improvement to me because the less equipment you have on the road when you're outside, it always like that's. To me, it sucks to have to pull out. So shout out to you again for being so prolific on just, put it all out, put it all on the table, have your setup in place.
I mean, with the Mark II, like the big thing for me, which has made it more than anything else, you could take away all the other new functions and the chopping and the extra 4 pads, all that shit. The pitch, just the fact that they gave us this awesome pitch. It's crazy. This is the first time in my entire life where I've been able to take random shit from places and like I'll have like a funky bass line from somewhere where I filtered out everything except for the bass, and then I have some jazz piano doing some stuff, and then I grab like some horn stabs from something else, and I can change the pitch and like it all fits together. Like it's crazy how that's another thing is I have like a guitar sitting next to me on a stand when I'm making beats because so like I'll be like, all right, cool, the bass is in, ding, F, and then like the pianos are, all right, is that chord, so I need to change it to that. So I always keep a guitar next to me to keep an eye on what's going on.
This is how you determine the pitch shift that you need to do.
So it's like okay, it's a minor third up, which is 3 frets. So then you have to go -3. There you go.
This is dope. That's an interesting technique.
And
yeah,
like, I'm not like holding the guitar. It's just on the stand. I just like reach over and pull the headphone back and ding, ding, ding. There we are. And, all right, and we need to be that cool.
Yeah, that was direly missing. Like one of the reasons that I went with Koala at some point, an iPad, is because that thing.
It's crazy what Koala does. Koala is the most powerful thing to ever be made. Like it's crazy. Like what I hear, I've never used it, but like what I see everyone doing is always being, holy shit, you serious? On a fucking phone, really? Like fuck.
Yeah. And people like Tatsumaki who just
Oh my God.
don't care
Yeah.
for all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, no,
He literally stays in there.
Yeah, that dude is nuts. I love his Twitter and his Instagram. It's always one of those things that keeps me feeling lazy, which is important. But this is all these like the sample challenges from last year have been fucking so good. I mean, this is how you and I started talking, and and that's how I found about him and all that sort of stuff. Like sample challenges for the community have been so cool.
And you've been in pretty much all that, or people that I know, like Verysickbeats. You did his challenges and did quite Dibi's obviously.
Yeah, I did all the We Flip ones. I did all those. I think those like every month or whatever, or there's 12 of those, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did all those. They were cool. They were good ones. Because there's so much to learn from sample flip challenges. Like when you hear what parts of the animal everyone else harvested, and at the same time you got to challenge yourself to try and find a bit of the animal that no one else is eating. You know, like for example, a beat that I made yesterday, I was sampling the Mexican Babe Ruth, and everybody's touched this beat. Like Premiere's touched it. There's a version. My favorite version is Jizzo with Tom Morello, because they use like the really cool bass line part of the song. And so I always go on to Who Sampled, and I'm a big Who Sampled junkie. There's and then I always listen to like my favorite producers that I've heard of. It's always going to be people you haven't heard of, and so like especially like I always listen to like, you know, if you see like Pete Rock's name there, you're like, all right, let's find out what he did with it, and then try to find something that none of those guys did. Try and do something different. Try and make it less recognizable. I love that. I love that part of and with the sample flip challenges is exactly the same. It's just a lot more people and everyone doing it at the same time with the same. Everyone's on the same level. Everyone's like all the same generation. So it's awesome.
Exactly. It's so interesting to hear how different people sound at the end of the day. How people come up with like, I'll put a different twist on that. Like everybody's trying to not sound like the other person, obviously. So
a really good one. And sorry to take up so much time on this. Was he did one a few years ago, which was you could sample anything from the soundtrack to Ninja Scroll, the anime film Ninja Scroll, which I fucking love. That I've always loved Ninja Scroll. So it was like it was a great excuse to watch Ninja Scroll again and try and find some vocal samples as well. And it was really interesting to hear, because you sit down and you go on Spotify, you listen to the entire soundtrack for this old film, and then curious to see what songs people chose to sample from. That like you were like, yeah, I don't know if I can do something with that, or you know, like I don't know, like that was a really fun one. The Verysickbeat ones were really cool too. That guy, fucking JFilt has been doing this so long. He grew dreads. Like if you go back to like he has some really cool old MPC remaking classic beats videos from years and years ago.
Yeah,
but he has short hair. Like you gotta respect that guy's like work ethic, man. And he stays positive the whole time. Not me. Fucking all you motherfuckers cause me all sorts of mental health issues. But he's always so positive. Like, cause I mean, since the Mark II, someone called me a fat piece of shit or told me to go fuck myself at least twice a week since.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, it's social media. I don't know how exactly. Like, it would be interesting to hear how guys grow with thick skin because.
Yeah, I'm working on it. My rule at the moment is if I wake up in the morning and I check my phone and I look at comments and stuff, I deserve what I get. So I might feel good about myself, or like it goes like you'll have like people say really nice things, you're like cool, and then you move on. But then someone will say that you're corny, and that will live there for like a month. But the problem is that if I release something and it's not doing well, then no one's mean to me. So like it's like do I want to have people be nice to me, or do I want my things to get out into the world? So you really can't be doing something right unless on the internet. You can't be doing something right on the internet unless people are getting mad at you. And the worst part is that they live in your head rent free for as long as it takes for you to forget about it. But they forget about it instantly. They tell you to. They say that you're a biter, and then they disappear.
That part is something that just it's like you can't take it to heart since people are just trolling.
Yeah.
And just what you just said is something I consider a nice hack to have. Like, well, if somebody takes his 5 minutes to tell you like it sucks, it's like thank you. Obviously, we're polarizing here, which means like okay, that's a good sign. People don't like me means you have a certain you arrived at a certain reach. That's basically it, because that opinion still doesn't matter at all. You don't know each other.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. But they never stick around for the conversation. So like I sampled it was DiBiase's birthday, and so there was like the Twitter challenge was to like sample a Game Boy or video game thing, and so I did. I've got my Game Boy and I've got Batman. So I made a Batman beat, and some dude gave me this huge like spiel about how I'm a biter and being a biter is bad, and who'd he say? Lord Beat Jitsu. He said that I was biting Beat Jitsu, and I'm like, no, I'm biting DiBiase. I'm stealing his style, and then when I'm playing guitar, I'm pretending I'm Stevie Ray Vaughan. There is like nothing original I'm doing. I didn't even pretend like I was doing something original. I was wearing two different hats that I didn't invent yet. And I want to really stress that. It's like I'm a student of the game. I haven't invented anything. I've taken pieces from everywhere and I put it together, and I try to pass on what I know to anyone who's interested, because I don't know, I like to study. As a musician, I like to when I was studying jazz guitar at university, then it was like Wes Montgomery and George Benson. I wanted to learn about where that came from, and then who did they learn from? Like I wanted to learn how to play like Slash. Where did that come from? Jimmy Page. Want to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan? Well, then you go to Albert King, then you go to T-Bone Walker, and you keep going back until you get to Charlie Christian or whatever. You just like you gotta find out who's the first person to do something. If you're a heavy metal drummer and you got the double kicks, the who invented that? Well, I'll tell you, it was some teenage kid in the late 30s thought it would be funny to put two kick drums together for a school thing. Apparently, that's a guy who ended up inventing the idea of having two kick drums. Sampling drums. Something I do every day is chopping a drum break. Who was the first guy to do that? Marley Marl. And what happened to those drums? BDP stole them and they released their own songs with it. What happened then? Well, because they put that snare drum. This is such an awesome thing. Like so this is the stuff that gets me hard. So Marley Marl samples Impeach the President. Fuck, I hope I'm right. I hope I'm not wrong. And takes that snare and the kick or whatever, and he uses it, and then BDP steal his drum reel, and then they release the bridge is over, and at the very start of the song is like the snare drum by itself, and then that was sampled by everybody. Like if you listen to Funky Cole Medina, if you listen to that song, you can hear the record crackle on the snare is the exact same as the other two songs I just talked about. Like it's fucking crazy. Like just the lineage of this one snare drum was sampled from 145 and put onto this little sampler guitar pedal thing, and then that went all the way through. Shit, I've sampled it and used it. Like from pretty much, if you want that snare drum, go buy Criminally Minded on vinyl, and you have the best version of that snare drum available.
I mean, it's pretty much the story of every drum break that is well known and has been sampled a million. And I mean, we're sampling stuff in the first place, which kind of takes us there. we haven't been neither the technique nor the approach in chopping anything and flipping anything. It's like literally just revisiting the same move over and over again, coming up with new stuff.
So I don't want to get too philosophical because I'd rather get back to the technical stuff because that's like real shit, and I don't feel like I'm talking out my ass. But I do want to my thoughts on sampling. So 20 years ago, I was at university learning how to be a guitar player, studying the greats, right? And so I've played a lot of jazz gigs. I've done a lot of like recording sessions doing jazz stuff or whatever the fuck the job was. And then it's like you have to at some point, like a lot of musicians look on sampling as stealing. And there's three things. First thing, in the jazz world, there's a song called I Got Rhythm. And that song, those chord changes, has been made into a countless number of other songs. The songs the Beatles use, the chords the Beatles use for Let It Be is like fucking 60% of every pop song ever written uses that same chord progression. So it's not like musicians are doing fresh shit anyway. Secondly, who are you stealing from? Because if you sample Funky Drummer, Clive Stubblefield isn't getting fucking royalties from Funky Drummer. He wants to, and I've seen in interviews, he says he would like to get credit, which is very fair. But he's not having money stolen from him by people sampling that drum break. He's getting money stolen from him by the record label who owns the rights to that fucking music. So like, like you're not stealing from those musicians. Those musicians have already been robbed. You can't keep stealing from them. You're stealing from the people who stole it from them. So like fucking let that argument go. And the last thing is sampling is a new evolution of musicology, where you take the tone of something, what something sounds like, how it was sampled, is it on tape, is it at this sample rate? You change the pitch, you chop it up, you rearrange it. This is a new, this is like in fucking Star Trek where they have that multi-dimensional chess game going on. Like this is like a new level. It's not heavy on musicology and music theory. It's different. And it's a new way of doing things. And the old way is always going to bitch about the new way. But as a musician, as like the guy who, so basically my main job that I have is that somebody has a beat they want to use, but it has a sample in it they can't use. So then they hire me to recreate something similar to that. I make sounds like beats. And so, for example, the last one I did was somebody wanted a beat that was pretty much Turn the Page, Bob Seger. So I had to make a hip hop beat that was pretty much that whole entire song, same structure, but like with different chords and doing different things to make it unique. And I don't know, like, I don't know, just it annoys me when like you have musicians are saying fucking like sampling is like cheap and no, it doesn't take any smarts. It takes a lot of fucking smarts. It's you're chopping things up and rearranging it. This is problem solving. This is a big fucking jigsaw puzzle with your ears. It's hard. So I don't know. I also don't like beat makers that say that fucking the more you learn about music, the worse your beat making gets. Like, or guitar players are the same. Like the guitar players are like, if you learn theory, it takes away your soul. That's bullshit. You're just finding excuses. I'm not saying you have to study. I'm just saying don't be a dick about it.
I remember Madlib mentioning this, that in the early days he would replay certain things because he wanted to know how it works, to learn it by ear. Like he didn't have the classical training, but learned to play by replaying stuff, which I took to, like, this is where I think, like, this is very noble. This sounds to me, it sounds complicated. It costs a lot of effort to do that. But it definitely widens the range. This is what I like, why I enjoy the drum patterns that you have. They are
so about that, going back to Jeremy Ellis, the guy who inspired me to get started, and he has amazing tutorials out there on finger drumming as well. His stuff is he said that as an exercise, whenever you chop a drum break and you chop it all, keep all the things on all the pads, but then learn how to play the drum break.
I saw you doing that, replaying the original drum break first.
So every drum break I've ever chopped, I've learned how to play. But I don't always chop hard things, but I always like interested. Like, can I figure that shit out? Because like the fingering is always going to be weird because you got to learn how to do it on your basic kick, basic snare, but then you got to try and do it with the variations. So you end up like working your way up the pads, like sort of thing, depending on where you put your samples or whatever.
And do you have a system there? Because I see certain things, but I'm not sure about them. So the bottom four are clear, but then the hats, it seems like you put the hats in a row.
Yep, pretty much that. Like exactly. I stack up. I keep it like that. Like I'll keep like the main kick, which is like the one that's on the one, is on like the second bottom one. So let's call that pad 14. What do you want to call it? Pad 10, because there's like 4 or 4. Let's say it's pad 10. We'll just go to the 12 pads. Let's keep it simple. So pad, I've got to look at one. All right. So pad 12, for example, is my main snare. And then if I was going to do a snare like a fill, there was like a duck, something like that at the end of the bar. That second snare variation will be on pad 8, and then on pad 4 will be maybe a ghost snare or a snare roll or something, like a sort of thing. Same with the strong kick, but if it's like a boom, boom, the second kick will probably be on pad 6. And if I'm doing straight 8 note hi-hats, which I usually do, I'm not very creative with my hi-hat patterns. I'd have like on the beat would be the main hi-hat, and then above that will be the one that's in between the notes. So it'll be going so if it's like boom, ga, boom, ga, it's 9-5, 9-5, 9-5, 9-5, and then head up to 1 for the open. I sometimes wish I had heard of Flobama before I started, because his technique is fucking wicked. I love his Flobama's layout and the way he uses his thumb for, like, I think the kick and stuff. And he has like the right hand side is the drums, the left hand side is the samples, and how he divides it that way. I fucking love that setup. I really wish I knew about that before I started, because I would have totally learned that way of doing it. His way seems to make so much more sense than mine. Every time I see him do it, I get mad at myself that I'm so stubborn and I'm stuck in my ways that I'm going to keep doing it my way. But fuck, his way looks better.
Oh, one quick question: the MK2 question.
Please,
do you know a way to put samples into a choke group quickly Because I think someone struggled with this.
So it's really, really straightforward. Obviously, the only thing is it is manual. So if you want to get rid of all of them, you do have to press all the pads. And then if you want to add them all, you have to add them all as well. I haven't found a way to add every single pad in a bank with one key combination, for example.
Put them into
mute groups. Mute groups?
Mute groups. Mm-hmm.
Is that what a choke group is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just open up the mute group menu and then select which group it is, A, B, C, D, or whatever, and just hit all the pads that you want to be in it.
Oh, can you actually save this as a well, you don't use project templates, but could you theoretically save that? Let's say on the A you have all 16 pads in a mute group, and then save it as a project.
I don't think so, but it takes enough time to go to put it. So
pretty fast.
Yeah, it's not. That shouldn't be a big deal.
Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the favorite things that you mentioned. The pitch shift. Like, is there another thing in the MK2 that you really love?
I mean, having the 4 different buses, super awesome. I love the menu system on the SD card. I really dig that. Because it's I have an old version of Windows that I use, which isn't supported, so I can't use the software. So I've never done the copy over thing. So so please don't ask me anything about the software. I've never used it. I can use my laptop as like a source of audio. I can use this as my sound card, but not in a DAW. But just as like the Windows default sound device, the sample from Spotify or whatever. Just stop saying that. That sounds like a crime. Give me a second. Let's have a look. Cassette sim is fucking great. Cassette sim with everything set to 0 on a drum break just makes it just a little bit more, you know, this is cool. 16 velocity is cool for like making like fake delays. That, which is nothing new. NPC's been doing that forever. I don't mess with chromatic enough, but I love that it does it because I usually just like copy the sample to another pad and change the pitch or whatever. Or usually I've sampled like most of the time when I'm using like chromatic style stuff, it would be like a bass line. And for example, that the Mexican that I sampled yesterday was like one note going bump 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 sort of thing. So I had those 6 notes chopped up individually, and I changed them individually. So it wasn't the same note repeated when I changed the pitch. It was count in. Count ins are for suckers. Like straight up fucking when it comes to like making patterns, I'm either like count in off or count in wait. So it means that you put it on count in wait when you start to make your beat. Your first hit is what starts the recording process.
Nice.
And it's always dead on the 1. That's fucking wicked. Or you have it set to count in off, and then it starts recording just like the MPC 60 does. It just like starts playing it, just starts playing the beat, and there's just no waiting for the count in. Like not having to wait for count ins. Also, every time you do something, it gives you like a screen pops up saying fucking operation done or whatever that screen used to say. You can turn that off, which makes it fast to use and stuff, which is awesome. I do love that this machine sent me down the rabbit hole of 1-bit pixel art for designing those screens. I love that because it was just like a period where I was just like, I fucking was sick of music. So I thought, I'm just going to make fucking like 50 of these things. And so then I was like watching tutorials on pixel art and then learning how to draw things from scratch. Like circles are a weird thing. Only certain diameters or radiuses will work at such a small pixel size. But there's websites for you to try that out and decide. Padlink is great for like the things we've already talked about. I don't fuck with the velocity sensitive pad shit much, so I don't know much about that. I'm just not that guy. I started finger drumming on fucking 404A. Like, what do I know about velocity sensitive pads? Like, fucking, I'm not that guy.
So you turned it off?
Yeah, I'm always fixed velocity because I don't want like a soft kick of my main kick. I don't like that sound. I'd rather have a variation kick for my ghost kick. So I think that's more interesting. Just quickly going through the thing because it's in my fucking hand. Pad mute is cool. And being able to mute a bus. When you're jamming and you got your drums on one and your samples on the other one, you just hit shift and then hit the dot. And it mutes the bus. That's great.
So it mutes the bus with the sound behind it, right? So it basically,
yes. So drums are on bus 2. You mute that bus, the drums go away, but the sample keeps playing. So you just take out a snare or something just while you're jamming. What else? Oh, duplicate, pattern duplicate, and crop. So you can make like a 1-bar loop and then duplicate it into a 4-bar loop or some shit. I fucking love it. And then you just like delete a few things out to make variations, which is cool for some things. Obviously, some things is not cool for. The metronome while recording guitar, like if you want to, or if you're into the resample thing, because I know I'm a big advocate for the pattern sequencer, but I've made a lot of shit with resample method too. And I always used to have, like, for example, I was living in my aunt's basement in LA for a little while, and not basement, garage, because it's LA, so it's like a little bit cold at night, but the weather's it's pretty much the same weather all the time. So it's like you can live in someone's garage and it's not a problem at all. And she had a turntable. I had my 404, and I wanted to make like a beat tape that was just all resample method, no pattern sequencer. And I would always have like some headphones like these ones, but then I'll have like my earbud earphones inside one ear with the click track from my phone. So when I'm finger drumming, and like I would play the whole song out, just finger drumming a jam for like 2 minutes with the drums chopped off, and then I would record the whole song again with the chops. But that's how I keep. So that way I was able to record a whole song.
That's just crazy. Now that you mention it, I bought like a digital 8-track for this specific reason, because it was to have a metronome, and I would then record like 2 minutes of drums to that thing, and then basically record tracks, additional tracks to the multi-track. Yeah. Because it was like, fuck it, whatever. I can do mutes there. Then after that, so
what was the 8-track?
This guy.
Holy shit.
Yeah, cool. It has a stereo in and 8 tracks. And obviously, you can have 4 stereos or 8 monos. And it's a nice little. That's
fucking cool.
Fucker.
It's so small. Amazing.
Yep. So yeah, that was my solution to this metronome. I do, so I feel that a lot, but you're now able to record resample to metronome. It's big improvement on their end.
Yeah, no, it is pretty awesome. And the sound of the metronome is much nicer than the old one. Like, especially if like you're like, I have a lot of hangovers, and that old one really fucking didn't feel good.
You just hit it.
I think I know about 63%. You got to understand that when I first received this, firstly, I didn't know I was receiving it. I didn't know what it was. I can tell that story if you want.
Oh yes, please.
Because this is a crazy story. So the reason why I don't know how everything works is because when I first got it, the manual was half done and mostly in Japanese, I think I was on firmware 12 or 11. I can't remember. I've done like 14 firmware upgrades, so I'm pretty good at going back to my default settings now. I know what I like. So the way it happened, because I completely misunderstood why I got it. I got contacted by the product specialist in Berlin, PJ. Should definitely check out his Instagram. He's a wicked musician. He's a wicked beat maker, PJ Bridger.
Hi guys, my name is PJ Bridger. I'm a Roland product specialist in Europe, and I'm really excited to be here today to show you the SP404 Mark II.
So he hit me up and he's like, fucking, we got a thing. Would you like to try our thing? And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll try your thing. And so they sent me the NDA, and I signed all the documents and shit. And that, you know, that's my first NDA. So that scared the shit out of me. So like, and so I didn't really understand what I was receiving. So just like, he's like, all right, cool. What's your address? Right. They sent it to me. I opened the box, and because I didn't know what it was. And when you think about, there's like not much difference between the 404SX and 404A. So if someone tells you there's going to be a new SP404, you're like, cool. Let's see what they did. Let's see what color it is now. You know, like I opened the box and I'm like, oh fuck, the pads are different, and it's like a gray metal thing. And it says chromatic on it, and it says 16 velocity on it. I'm like, I fucking know what those words mean. Wow. And then I turned it on, like, it's a fucking screen. and so there was like no one to talk to, because I didn't know who else had one. I had some guesses going on, like who had one, who didn't have one. And I was right for about 3 people, and I was wrong for about 40. So originally, my thought was, do you remember a couple of years ago, there was that 404 beat tape competition?
SP beat tape?
Yeah, that's
or
one.
Which one?
By the way, remember the prize for that was you get the skin and you get put on a cassette with the other winners?
Oh, right.
It was because of that competition I got to do the performance of the year later on Facebook.
Gotcha.
So I was one of the 16 winners of that competition, which means that I get to be on this cassette. I get to get the vinyl skin thing. You know, we haven't gotten those yet, but the tape is coming. Expect this to end. And this is one of those things. This competition was how I found out about Nelik.
Take a moment to think of joy, flexibility, love, and trust.
And Flobama and Q3, like all these fucking killers that I didn't know about until I was in a post with these other names. I looked all these people up. I'm like, holy shit, we've just found the holy grail of really inspiring people to check out. And then I went through and I listened to everyone's Spotify's and Bandcamps and stuff, and I was like, this is fucking, the world felt like it opened up, because I was like, here's all these names of people. So the competition was great like that. And I thought that's why I got sent the thing. I thought, oh, you were one of the SP beat tape guys. We got you to do a beat set like fucking 6 months earlier or whatever it was in April. And I thought we were all on the same list with that, right? And I think only me and Flobama out of those 16 people, maybe a couple of others. Maybe I'm missing someone. Yeah, so on day one, I mean, first you have the leak happened. And then obviously I can't say, it's true, guys, stop being a dick. It's more like fucking, I'm like, yeah, man, fake news. Fucking Photoshop, bro. And fire it up a little bit. Like, this is fun now. Then people ask me questions like, I don't know shit. And then day one happens, and you sort of see who got them and who didn't get them. You're like, oh, why the fuck did I get one?
Коммунистической партии Советского Союза и Президиум Верховного Совета.
The reason why I think I got one is because the Roland dude had hit me up. I'd actually talked to him before. I didn't know who he was. He'd asked me about, you know, the finger drum scratching thing I do. He asked me about that. That was like my last conversation with him. Was he's like, can you send me the link to your video on how to do that? I'm like, sure, no worries.
I mean, you being so focused on SP videos makes you a likely target, though. There are some SPvidz exactly as like heavy, but you play 2 of them at the same time. You do the scratch things. You have like advanced techniques which are non-obvious, which are not like, this is how you enable multi-effects, you know. So.
I'm really, really terrible at doing simple beginner tutorials. I just don't know how to do those. I'm really horrible at, because I'm not a good talker. Like SPvidz is very articulate. He's very good at like explaining things and making things make sense. I can't do that. I write scripts. Like my videos, I spend a day, I do a practice run, I write scripts, then I film it, then I do the voiceover, or I do the voiceover first, or whatever. He does it like there was a time when he was doing it, because I talked to him about this, and he was recording everything at the same time, all going onto the same channel into like in the software. Like I'm mixing and I'm chopping and I'm cutting out like noise and tidying it up and make sure all my fuck ups aren't in there. And if I stutter a word, I make sure that's corrected and stuff like that. He's a savage. He's just like doing it under like just it goes into like all the tracks go into one thing, gets recorded as a stereo track. I don't have that confidence. Like, I got a lot of love for that guy because he's so articulate. But I appreciate that Roland like gave me the opportunity to be on this ride because it's been cool. Like I love this machine, and it's been a game changer for me. Like with my technique, with my finger drumming, with my beat making, the pitch shift, and like the vinyl mode pitch shift where like it slows it down, speeds it up smoothly, just like the 202 does. Like having access to that so conveniently, like it's the reason why I still haven't made my NPC album yet. Because like it was like I said, they arrived in the same week after having the NPC in customs for a month with my guitar. Oh my God, German customs. Dude, the tax department in Germany, man, they don't fuck around. I think I paid like 700 euros for a guitar, to pay import tax on a guitar on a machine that I bought a decade ago. You have to respect them because
you don't fuck with them.
No, like they say you can get away with murder easier than tax evasion here. Believe that.
And it's probably true.
Yeah.
In Germany, you just get the invoice. It's like it's not that you're trying to get away with something. No, you get your notification and an invoice, and you better pay because you're not getting the package without it. So your choice.
Like there's been a bunch of times where DHL have arrived to my door. They got my box, but I have to pay them in cash, the tax, which I didn't know I had to pay. So if I don't have cash on me, they take the box away, and I have to go try again later. Amazing. All right, technical questions. What's on your list?
The one is I mean, you just touched on this with the workflow. How much, like, what is the difference in your project approach now that you work with the MK2?
That's a good question. What's different now? I spread out more. Like I spread out banks more. Like I have like just my drums in one bank, samples in one bank, bass samples on. I spread out a lot more now because I want to be able to. So with a bank, you can control the overall volume of a bank. So if you have your drums on one bank and main samples on another bank, you can then have all the samples at 127, then turn the bank down to mix it all. And then once you put in like your vinyl sim or compression or whatever on top of everything, you can then adjust that real quick and easy together to do that like you wanted to. So I spread out a lot more. Not a whole lot has changed with the workflow because it's still the same thing. Chopping's different, but which for the best. So one thing is so you can adjust the envelopes. So when you're chopping samples, sometimes you get like the digital click at the start or end. So you can adjust the envelope start and end to get rid of that click, right? And that's a long process. They haven't made that as the whole mute group you do it to or the whole bank you do it to yet. I'm hoping that it will be a thing in the future. I don't know if it will be. Don't quote me. I don't know if next firmware is going to address that. I just one of those things. I cross my fingers. Because I will say that I know people don't know the two guys who made this thing and who are doing all the updates. But whenever I see like anyone's 404 video and I see that they've liked and they've commented underneath it, it's like I'm like, you guys have no idea who the fuck is watching your shit right now. Like these guys are like in all the Facebook groups. They're everywhere, just listening to what people are saying and they're making changes based on that. So keep talking. Keep making noise, be loud, because they are paying attention. It's crazy, like just because I know who to look out for, they are paying attention. Fuck, why did I start saying that? I'm sorry, I go off on tangents. My attention span, this is why I write shit down on paper.
You you start fresh every time, you said. So the first thing that you do is throw those drums in, or do you start with the sample, or how do you start a project?
I don't always start with drums because a lot of the times if there's like a lot of sample challenges, or I do a lot of exercises. This is something to talk about because I'm a biter. So let's what's something up here? Okay. I can't stand to see you cry. That song, 1974, the Escorts. You don't necessarily have to find that song and remake that beat, but find that album and find something it's going to have the exact same sound because it's from the same day in the same studio. So like you don't have to release the beat, but just as an exercise, try and do something similar that is inspired from that. Like, you don't have to release it again. Don't have to not everything has to be for public consumption. You can make beats and not share them on Instagram. You'd be surprised as that's possible. And that's a cool little exercise to do. It's just like try and he had this sound, and what can I do with that sound if I was sitting in his chair on that day, sort of thing. Obviously, he was using different gear towards that, but yeah. And that's sort of how my workflow might start. Would be like I might be sitting on an exercise bike watching one of those all the samples used in a Tribe Called Quest's Low End Theory videos where the DJ, I love those fucking videos where he's like he plays the sample and then he plays the joint. I love that shit. That's just so I'm sitting on an exercise bike and I'm watching that for an hour or something, and we'll go for that, some Pete Rock and some Premiere, and then I'm like, okay, I want to do something with that band from that album. Not necessarily that song, just find something that was recorded on that day in that same studio with the same musicians. And then once I find my song, and I'm always looking for minor chords. I fucking hate major chords. I'm not that guy. There's people who make really cool stuff with major chords. I respect you. I want no part of that myself. Even as a guitar player, I don't write jazz in major keys. I don't play fucking I don't know, obviously I don't play heavy metal in major keys. But I'm always just looking for especially in sample flip challenges, I'm looking for minor chords. And if it's a jazz song, you can always go online and find the chords for the jazz song. And so listen to the song, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4. Count and read the chord chart while you're listening to the song, and get familiar with the part of the song that you like the sound of, and say it's a B flat 7 minor 7 chord going to an F7 chord or some shit. Listen for when that chord change happens again later in the song, and it'll happen maybe 4 or 5 times, and sample that each time. And so now you've got 5 different versions of this B flat minor chord going to an F7. And fuck off the F7, just keep the B minor chord, fuck the major chord. Keep that B minor chord. And then all of a sudden you chop those up, and you're gonna get 3 or 4 chops out of each time. So now you've got a bank full of just B flat 7 from the same song, from the same jazz song. You slow it down, you find yourself a nice drum break, and all of a sudden you're making this Wu-Tang style thing that people like. You're not just taking a loop and looping something, which is totally cool. I'm a big fan of taking a loop and it's hypnotic, and you listen to it for 4 hours and you make a beat from it. That's totally sweet. But you can also do this thing, and now you've taken parts of the same chord from different parts of the song, and you're making something that there's a good chance no one else has done. So maybe 50 other producers have made Grammy Award winning songs with this one sample, but you've done something different to them. Another thing I do, which is a bit cheeky, is if a song is fading out on a sample flip challenge, I will sample the whole fade out but turn the volume up as it fades out so it stays the same volume.
Mhm.
And then I'll chop just the bits that everyone else would have missed because it was like fading out. That's one of my tricks of like finding the part no one else uses, is like no one's using the fade out. So I'm just gonna like keep the fade out, just keep turning it up so it stays the same volume while I sample it and then chop that off.
That's
see what-
cool.
That's
I've
what
never
I-
heard about that.
that's just like out of desperation of trying to find something that no one else has used. I bet no one's used this part yet.